And today I'm just gonna be talking about this whole Shedeur Sanders situation. Um, Obviously, the whole world has been tuned in ever since the draft and what's happened with him, as far as sliding to the 5th round and actually being a 5th round talent. And honestly, we ain't never seen nothing like this before, as far as a quarterback who was projected to be the first picked or first quarterback taken, sliding all the way to the 5th round. And a lot of it was definitely, well, really all of it was definitely something that was based apart from anything to do with football, because if you look at the quarterbacks who were taken before him, a couple of them understanding, but the Saints quarterback who they drafted, he is somebody who has had a long tenured career, but was somebody who wasn't even on the radar as being a first round pick or even a top, 5 to 10 quarterback that was going to be drafted. So it was honestly surprising to see to me. Even with Shedeur's college career record at Colorado, and even prior being at Jackson State, you could just look at a player and they pass the eye test as far as being like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can look at certain players and know who's going to be cold and who's a decent player, who should be first round. All of that is apparent when you look at certain players and they pass the eye test. And Shedeur is one of those players. Not having a good O-line and still having the stats that he had was impressive. Even not throwing as many picks. Most of the picks that he threw in college while he was playing wasn't even his fault. They either came off of receiver's hands or, that was mainly just the case. He threw a couple picks where it was like, quick decisions that were bad decisions, but there wasn't too many of those. But all in all, he still should have been a first-round quarterback. And now we've gotten to the point to where he's on a team. It's whatever, 5th round. I still got a chance to do what I got to do to make the team. And then as far as, the Browns picking him, that could have been the best possible situation, because all the other teams that passed up on him for him to slide so far down, if he would have went somewhere else, it's still like, okay, well, what is this team going to look like? The Browns have a solid team offensively and defensively. That just can never figure out the quarterback situation. They went through like 1,000 quarterbacks and still haven't had success with one of them. Baker Mayfield was probably the only one that started to get some traction, but they had to let him go, obviously, because it's like, it was too imbalanced, and it was still a lot more upside for him as far as where his career could go. So him going to Tampa Bay was like the best thing for him. But then, you turn around and you got Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders both coming to your team in the same draft class. It's kind of questionable to me, but at the same time, I understand it, because you're a team that hasn't had success with a quarterback. So ideally, it would make sense to add on to Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Deshaun Watson, given that Deshaun Watson is going to miss a lot of time with his injury. Kenny Pickett has kind of been, wish-washy since he's joined into the league. He really hasn't had the success that everybody expected coming from college into the NFL. Joe Flacco, obviously a Super Bowl champion veteran, 40 years old, though he doesn't have much time left that he's going to be playing in the league. Maybe this year is his last year, maybe one more year after that. So, the direction of them drafting Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, I'm not really too mad at. But again, a lot of people have just questioned Shedeur being drafted where he's been drafted at and how everything has been playing out. So they just recently had a preseason game against the Carolina Panthers, and Shedeur obviously did what Shedeur does. He went out there and he played a pretty decent game. One of the best games out of all the rookies coming into this class for their first preseason game. And, he still gave himself a C+, which is understandable because he missed some throws. And when you're a player of that type of caliber, and when you just somebody who take your craft serious and you love what you do, you always a little bit more harder on yourself, especially with your dad being Deion Sanders, obviously. So, he gave himself a C+. He was like 14 for 23, 130-plus passing yards and 2 touchdowns. No interceptions, no turnovers at all. So I think he played good. And like I said, it's just the eye test. You can look at his game and understand that he deserves to at least be higher up on the depth chart than what he is. And the reason why I made this video is obviously because he balled out in this preseason game. He had so much love and support in the stands. The team is using him and marketing him so much because they know the attention that he draws, and he's still not getting a chance to get reps in practice and better his craft. You say you're developing a player, but you drafted a first-round talent in the 5th round and you're not even giving him no reps. You got him still 4th on the depth chart, even after his performance in the preseason game. So it's leaving a lot of people questioning, okay, at this point, what is he still doing on your team? If you don't look to develop him, because like I said, it's only so much he can do sitting behind Kenny Pickett. Joe Flacco is understandable. So it's like Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders should be battling for that 2nd string spot. I feel like Kenny Pickett is really wasting a roster spot, to be honest. I feel like Kenny Pickett would be better off in a different situation where he can go be a backup to, yet again, another veteran quarterback, but somebody who he can actually learn behind in an offensive system that fits him. I feel like having all these quarterbacks is really a waste of time, especially with somebody like Shedeur, who is as good as he is, and not taking away from Dillon Gabriel either, because he was in the Heisman finalist conversation as well as Shedeur. So they got 2 Heisman finalist quarterbacks on their squad, but to have Dillon Gabriel still ahead of Shedeur and he missing time because of an injury, he didn't even play in the preseason game, and Shedeur went out there and did what he was supposed to do, not having any reps, he should at least be ahead of Dillon Gabriel or Kenny Pickett, who both missed a preseason game. So I just don't understand it, man. You had Tyler Huntley come in, sign late, and go and get snaps in the game. And so it's just like, we understand why Joe Flacco is not playing, but in my opinion, I would have Joe Flacco be the backup quarterback or the safety blanket. He's 40 years old. Granted, he has the experience, but I mean, if you're only looking to get 1 season out of him, I don't understand. Or if you're gonna get 1 or 2 seasons out of him and you let him go just to bring him back, I don't understand why he's going to be your starter now if you just let him go, a year or 2 ago. So, I mean, it does make sense, though, and contrary to combat that, to say that, well, since he only has a year or 2 left, then we might as well let him start and let the younger guys learn from up under him. That makes sense, too. Nobody's really mad at that point either. But when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, like I said, he's only done nothing but prove himself every single time. And people are just questioning, at this point, why are you still having him on the roster if you're not going to, use him the right way or give him a fair shot? You haven't got the quarterback position right in all these years. You're obviously, as an organization, you can't pick them right. And so now that you have all these options, why don't you listen to some of these, analysis, maybe the players and even your fans as to a guy that they've been watching close, because this whole little situation has been watched close from training camp. Ever since the whole draft happened, everybody's been watching this situation close because they want to see what the outcome is going to be. I feel like this team and the way that Shedeur plays is perfectly set up for him to at least have a chance to be the starting quarterback. Dillon Gabriel as well, but we haven't seen him in a live NFL game yet, so I'm hoping to see him play this next game coming up and see Shedeur again so that he can prove once again that this is what he does. But I feel like this all just ties into like everything that like people who are higher up, whether rich people, the government, it's always some stuff where they just throw it in your face. Because if we all look at this, it would only make sense if you're really trying to win to give the guy who's performed and done it and who's been showing up consistently a chance to earn those reps and win a spot higher in the depth chart. They still got this dude as the 4th quarterback on the depth chart. And it's just like I was saying, this goes to anything that ties into like the government or higher powers. They'll throw everything in your face and not care about it. Like they're literally saying, yeah, Shedeur did what he did, but we don't care. We still gonna make him suffer because we want him to know, we want y'all to know that we in charge. And that's just kind of what I'm getting from all of this. Like, he's never shown that he was a stubborn, cocky, or arrogant person. He had analysis and people who were saying that he was going to meetings with his headphones in and going and not really listening, and he was unprepared for meetings. I'm like, that don't even sound like Shedeur, because I've watched their channel all this time that Bucky documents, and he's never shown even a glimpse. Because if you're on camera 24/7, you're going to eventually, even if you edit stuff out, you're going to eventually slip up, or there might eventually be a time where they show something where you're like, he might be pretending a little bit. I've never gotten that vibe from Shedeur. And I just feel like most of it, we all know, is hate towards his dad. But even to this day, his dad has done nothing but try and be, a stand-up person. Now, the cockiness and arrogance, that's one thing you can say that people don't like, but everybody has that stigma about them in a certain way. it mainly just comes down to him being black and that being the case. They always hate to see black people come and, you know, be confident about the things that we do, especially since we're always the trendsetters and everything. We always make everything cool. We've never heard anything or, you know, complain about Tom Brady being how he is, because Tom Brady is one cocky son. You know what I'm saying? He's cocky as fuck. And we've never criticized him to the extent or punished him to the extent that they doing Shedeur right now. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this whole situation. Do y'all think that Shedeur is just kind of getting, you know, some type of punishment for his dad, and it's just like, we don't care what you do, we're gonna ride this out to the end? Or they gonna punish him as much as they can until they have to, like, no choice but to, like, give him that starting role? Because the fans can only take so much of the franchise not doing anything or just watching how they doing Shedeur. Shedeur has so much support right now, not only just from the black community, but the sports world in general, because they kind of hurting themselves by, like, giving him this mic'd up stuff where he was mic'd up for the whole first preseason game, and he'd be mic'd up in practice, and they got these little interviews they do with him. They just marketed him so much, but he was a 5th round draft pick. They don't even do this much with Dylan Gabriel. I really forgot Dylan Gabriel was on the team, and he got drafted like a round or 2 higher than Shedeur. And it's just kind of hurting him because he's only being able to show more and more of his personality to all these people who were bamboozled by these fake reports that he was just a terrible kid during the draft process. A lot of people in the comment sections under posts are now saying, oh, I was wrong about this kid. I really like him. I hope he does good. I'm rooting for him now. All this other stuff. Like, people are starting to see what's really going on for real. And these are people that was really hating on bro to begin with. The people who've been knowing since day one, who've been down since day one, we already knew it was up. But it's just like a lot of stuff is starting to come to light. And I feel like it's going to really make the organization look a certain type of way. Well, they already look a certain type of way. Because you got the owner coming out and saying, well, if I knew we was going to draft Shedeur, I would have said no. Y'all ain't had a quarterback situation working so long, and you're saying you wouldn't have drafted him for what? If you're going to look at his tape, why wouldn't you want to draft him? And I was watching, a recap of First Take on YouTube the other day, and what Stephen A. Smith was saying was real true. He was like, if Shedeur is able to somehow pull this off and eventually get to the starting spot and have success throughout the season, a lot of these teams that passed up on him are going to have to really question themselves, especially the Saints. The Saints dropped the ball the most because the Saints had multiple opportunities to get Shedeur before they even got the quarterback that they ended up getting. And the fans were pissed that they didn't get Shedeur, especially when they picked up bro. So a lot of teams are definitely going to have to answer that needed a quarterback and didn't get him, and they went and got somebody else. It's going to be interesting to see, man. Like I said, y'all let me know what y'all think. I can't wait for the second preseason game. I hope Shedeur gets a lot of the snaps again, because they tried to discredit him a little bit by saying, well, it was the Panthers and they were second and third strings. Wait, to y'all point, he's a 4th stringer. He's playing with the same people on his roster. So it's like, y'all can say the Panthers are bad all y'all want last season, but every team has a chance to start over and write a new script for the next year. So you have to throw last season out the window, especially when it ain't the same 11 guys on the field that was on the field last season when they was losing. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that this is a situation where he's going to come out on top, obviously, because, you know, he can ball, and we all know that, and we all see that. So he can't be held down for long. But like I said, this is just going to be a situation where, you know, he going to get his time, and when he get his time, he going to do what he need to do, and it's going to be perfect timing. So y'all let me know, like I said, what y'all think about this whole situation. Appreciate y'all for watching if y'all watched all the way through the video. Yeah, man, more content coming soon. It's been your boy. I'm gone.